right. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday!
And welcome to the back catalog listening party. My name is Mother Banjo.
I am Anthony Ihrig.
And today we have Don Stiernberg joining us from Chicago today. So
Hey,
great to
Don.
see you, Don.
Likewise, thanks so much.
And hello to all of you tuning in early. We got our regulars here. Connie, can't wait for an hour devoted to music. Perfect remedy for frazzled nerves. Yeah, it's been a week.
I'm
we
with
know.
you, Connie. I'm with you.
In fact, in that vein, I just want to cheers all of you. We made it through another week, especially a week that felt pretty dang long. So
Yes. 2 weeks worth of a week.
exactly.
Cheers.
And
Don't mind if you do.
and then Alan says it's still GMT weather in Dallas, but as Chris said, here in Minnesota, it's 75 degrees and
Who'd
sunny
have thought
outside.
there was like 8 inches of snow here just not too long ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. And let's see. Yeah, and then Anne is TJF big time crazy week. Joe says he's raking them leaves in Minneapolis. Tony and I were just talking about that. We got a second chance to rake our leaves.
I know. I thought we were done for the year.
Yeah.
And I thought I was off the hook, but
And then Connie says she's been outside all afternoon. Well, thank you for joining us, whether you're inside or out. We're happy to have you here on the back catalog listening party, where we dig into old records. We invite guests to talk about those albums and answer your questions, and of course, enjoy a musical happy hour together. And in that vein, what are you drinking over there, Don?
I have a light version of Blue Moon.
Ooh,
Oh.
nice.
Have you guys heard of Blue Moon? You must-
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be a Chicago.
Yeah, they
And-
distribute up here too, though, so we
It's
get
like
to
a
enjoy.
wheat beer and nice.
Yeah, this is just that citrus wheat, but made with less of the bad stuff, the carbs.
Oh, all right. So
Just
you can
for
drink
me.
more of them.
They made it that way just for me.
Excellent.
Nice.
Good.
Well, I'm back to Michigan. This is a little cheers to all my friends in Michigan for the Founders All Day IPA.
Nice. And I decided today warranted maybe a stiffer drink than normal. I made an old fashioned today. I thought a proper cocktail might accompany today's music really well. I feel like this is going to be good happy hour music, and I'm really excited to dig in with all of you today. And yeah, I just can't think of a better way to end my week. So
Me too. A little jazz mandolin. We don't need to hear any more words right now.
no more, no
I
more
want
words.
less words, more notes. And we've got some great notes coming your way. But for those of you who don't know Don, Don, would you mind just giving a brief overview of your, kind of musical background and maybe put the album that we're going to listen to today into context for folks?
Sure. Well, as Tony said, I'm a mandolin player, and at this point, I have been for about years. Goes back all the way to when I was a kid, like a teenager, and that would be in the middle to late 1960s. My brother was 5 years older than me. He played banjo and guitar, and he was into the what eventually they called it the folk boom, playing the folk music. And I wanted to be able to play along, to have that kind of fun too. He inspired me to try to play and learn. So there was a mandolin that showed up. I think one of his college professors gave him a mandolin. I started teaching myself on there until one day my mother heard an ad on the radio that said, "Study mandolin with the great Jethro Burns." And so Mom came over and said, you seem kind of interested in the mandolin. Maybe you should take lessons from this Jethro Burns guy. And I said, "What's a Jethro Burns?" And they ended up taking me, driving me in closer to the city. We lived like 50 miles north of Chicago when we were kids. And Jethro gave lessons at a store in Skokie, Illinois, which is where I'm sitting right now in my home. And I went there for my first lesson, and I was a goner from that point. I wanted to learn to play the mandolin, and I also wanted to learn how to be him, because he was the warmest and funniest and friendliest and most supportive, and I had my hero and figured out what I wanted to do with my life right, probably right on that first lesson. Uh, so I took lessons from him all through high school. Went to the same college that my brother went to so that we could play in a bluegrass band together. So my first professional experience was that. The band was called the Morgan Brothers. Um, and that was in the center of Wisconsin where we were based. We had the band for, I don't know how many years, 10 years maybe, but eventually I moved back home to the Chicago area so I could hang out with Jethro some more. I ended up playing in his band, Jethro Burns Quartet, and then also ended up moving closer to the city and working as a freelance musician all these years, right up to the present.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want to stop you for a second because I think it would be worth noting. People might not know Jethro and his background. Could you give a little bit of a history? I know he he has roots in a couple different genres, jazz and country music, and he and his partner were a comedy duo. But really a big piece of kind of early American country music and then later into jazz. Do you want to just give just a little brief bio of Jethro? Because I think that might give some nice context to the
And also
conversation.
maybe come a little closer to the mic. We want to make sure
Sure.
that everyone can hear you. Bruce was having a little trouble, and
Oh,
we
okay.
have great headphones, so we can hear you probably better than if people are listening on their phones. So we want to make
Yeah.
sure they can hear what you have to say.
More Don.
More Don, less us. Yeah.
Yes.
I was just being shy because, that's what happens when someone asks me to tell my life story. Oh, yeah. So Jethro, I always say that he was the greatest mandolin player of his time. And he was born in 1920 and passed in 1989. And he was most famous, not for mandolin playing, but for being half of the country comedy duo of Homer and Jethro. And their act, if you will, was a combination of hot swing jazz instrumental playing. Jethro on the mandolin, and Homer was the greatest swing rhythm guitar player that's come along. So that would be their musical setting. But what they were singing as comedy were parodies of pop tunes and especially country tunes of that whole time frame. Say the late 30s, right up until Homer tragically passed away way too soon. I think it was 1972 when Homer left.
So they were the Weird Al duo of their time.
I was just going to say that.
I had the same thought when I was watching some of those old videos.
So great.
Yeah.
It's now, parody of stuff. Well, I guess you see it come up every so often, but I guess currently it would be more on YouTube than, people actually making a career going out and doing it.
Well,
But they were superstars, and I'm not even kidding. They played all, they were on the radio for the years. Their career kind of paralleled the development of recorded and broadcasted music. Their first recordings were 78s, and then albums. They started off touring around, the whole country, but also playing on radio shows. And then, you come closer to the current time. They were on TV. They played every TV show except for one or two as guests. And then they had this contract with Kellogg's Cornflakes. They made Kellogg's Cornflakes commercials, and then they were really superstars because they were, people would see them on TV like every day for
yeah.
however long that went.
Very cool.
But with the mandolin, Jethro was he liked he liked jazz, and the people say, well, why did he like jazz? He was a country guy, wasn't he? I said, yeah, he was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, and grew up playing what he called hoedowns. We call them fiddle tunes, and but he also played, like, right from the start of his time playing the mandolin. He played the pop music of his day, and that was jazz. So his big heroes were, Django Reinhardt, Charlie Christian, guys like that. And I should have warned you before we got together. You don't want to ask me about Jethro because I get going on that.
No, it's
Well,
perfect.
Yeah,
This
and I
is
think
great.
It's great to get that context. I think because when I knew kind of him from the comedy side of things, but when I was doing kind of prep for this show, I mean, I'm hearing just blazing jazz mandolin. I mean, really like insane. When I first heard that kind of stuff, it was David Grisman. And I didn't know what came before, but clearly it was Jethro.
Yeah, and I think when we dig into the record we're going to talk about today, Don, we're going to hear some of that influence for sure in this recording, I think.
Hope so, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're taking lessons with him.
Yep.
And you and he was teaching primarily kind of the jazz style then? That was kind of where your background is?
He would he would just teach kind of like all-purpose mandolin. And a lot of the tunes turned out to be what he would call standards, like I don't know, what's a good standard? On the Sunny Side of the Street,
Sure.
Like I say, they're the pop tunes in his day, but they also became what people think of nowadays as jazz standards. That was a big part of what he taught, but he just taught people how to play the mandolin. And you mentioned David Grisman. One day I went for my lesson, and that was in Skokie here, a music store called Main Music. And I went in and knocked on the door, and Jethro comes out and he says, Donnie, there's a guy here now. He drove all the way from California, and he just wanted to pick a little bit. Would you mind? Can you wait for a little while? I said, sure, Jethro, that's fine. So I sat out in the hall, and the next thing I hear was two mandolins blazing through Tico Tico, which was like a flag waver favorite of his. It's on one of his most famous records. And two mandolins are playing it. I said, man, who is this guy? And there was a crack in the door, so I looked in the room there. It was David Grisman.
Very cool.
And that's where our friendship began. Like I say, it was about years ago.
And we have a picture here for those who are just listening. We have a picture here of you and David a few years later than that. It appears. Yeah. But I mean, you don't. I think you don't really put all those pieces together until you hear it, like this lineage. With Jethro Burns and you played in Jethro's band for a while. True, is that correct?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, taking all of that kind of jazz stuff that you had, and then the kind of bluegrass background, you were trying to, keep up with your siblings. When did you start recording under your own name and making it your thing?
The first recordings I did, like with my brother and our band, the Morgan Brothers, I was maybe 17. I made a jazz mandolin album, kind of, you might think of it as experimental, I guess, at this point. But when I was 20, I made a record. And then if you look decades ahead to when I started again to record things under my own name, that would be, since around the late 90s, 98, 99 or so.
Cool.
When it actually said Don Stiernberg and somebody else, or Don Stiernberg Group, etc.
Yeah, you just decided, hey man, I got a vision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do this, and I feel like this record that we're gonna listen to today kind of pulls in a bunch of those different influences. I mean, even the songs we have picked out, I'm hearing some Django, and I'm hearing just some straight ahead stuff. I'm hearing some bossa nova. I'm hearing all kinds of different influences. Do you want to talk a little bit about Mandoboppin, the record that we're going to listen to today?
Yeah, because we need to dig in because we're getting everyone so excited, but I know folks are antsy for the music. So
Okay, so what you mean is I should give the briefest explanation of Mandoboppin that I can, so then we can turn the record on. Let's see, it was 2013, and the idea of it was my working group, if you will, but instead of playing standards like we usually did on stage, the record's made up of mostly my own compositions. There's only two songs out of 12 that are not written by myself. So it's kind of a double project. One part being a nice jazz mandolin record, but also the other one being kind of my debut as a tune writer.
Okay, so this is actually early original stuff then for you in terms of when you were really putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I get these little flashes once in a while, and it usually comes in the form of an assignment. Like, Don, we'll let you play on our show, but you have to have original songs. Or we want to make this video, but we have to have original songs because we don't want to pay for real songs.
Right. Well,
exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I know how it goes.
But anyway, I'll get these every so often. Either a spurt of writing happens, or I'll get an assignment. And Mandoboppin was kind of my assignment to myself. I wanted to see what would happen if I wrote as many of the tunes as I could and see if people liked them.
That's
Excellent.
awesome. Well, the first track we have lined up here is a track called "Life Itself." That sounds very profound. Is there anything you want to say about it? Set it up before we dig in.
Sure. Life Itself happened because I was listening to a track by the great Cannonball Adderley. It was called "Wee Dot," a bebop tune, and from the recording was probably from the 1960s, and it was just "Wee Dot" is just like a hard, swinging, bluesy song, and there was so much spirit in it, and so much feeling in it that I said, man, this stuff sounds like life itself, and I have to write a tune with that title.
Awesome. Well,
That's
let's listen to it. This is Don Stiernberg, "Life Itself" on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
And I think that's really the end this time. A lot of false endings.
That time's for real.
It's worse than Lord of the Rings, man.
That's a great swing right there.
So good. That was Don Stiernberg, who's joining us today on Back Catalog Listening Party from his 2013 release, Mandoboppin. I keep wanting to say Mandoboppin. Both seem appropriate. Definitely that track has a lot, it really pops, and it has that kind of live club feel. Like it feels like if I wandered into, say, in the Twin Cities, it would be the Dakota on a given night, and I was hearing a smoking band. That could be you. And I would love to know about the instrumentation, who's in the band. It sounded like a pretty standard jazz format.
It is. And thank you for your kind words. I've actually played at the Dakota, but that was with Robbie Folks, one of the previous guests. But I know that feeling from the room, like you say. Here's the guys who played on the record right there on the picture. Instrument-wise, it's mandolin, guitar, bass, piano, and drums. And all acoustic on this particular recording. On some of our other things, we might plug in one or two of the instruments, but all acoustic on this. And the great guitar player on here is a guy named Andy Brown, who people probably already know. He's got an awful lot of things on YouTube that have an awful lot of hits on all of them. And he also tours around the country playing solo guitar, playing as sideman for jazz stars, backing up his wife, who's a great singer, Petra Van Nuys. So Andy Brown, I call him a master of the jazz guitar, because that's what he is. And next to him in the picture is our drummer, Phil Gratteau. I won't tell you all his nicknames because we got to move on with the show.
Drummers.
He's also, well-respected veteran of the Chicago jazz scene, and has, played everywhere with everyone. A master. He's actually a PhD, not a master, but at any rate, his partner in crime in the rhythm section there is Jim Cox on the bass, on the string bass.
Pretty
Sweet
phenomenal bass
yeah.
work on that tune.
And he always plays great. And as I mentioned, the two of them have been not only great friends, but they've been kind of a rhythm section for all kinds of people, on record sessions, but also tour dates. Our one of our favorite musicians here in Chicago is Judy Roberts, great jazz piano player, singer, kind of a hero to all of us. And the two fellers I just mentioned, Phil and Jim, they played an awful lot with Judy through the years. Jim played with Marion McPartland on a bunch of things, and anyway, I could go on and on. They're old pros, and I love them. Let's see, the guy in the middle, that's me with the mandolin. And then next to me is my best pal in the world, Steve Rashid. He's the guy who recorded the record and edited it, mastered it, everything. He made it happen. Underneath myself there, touching the piano, is another great Chicago musician named Larry Harris. And Larry was, in a way, a special guest on the record because most of our touring is done with either 3 or 4 pieces. But Larry's my favorite piano player in the area, and I love what he did on the record.
Yeah, the album, all of the album sounds great. And on that tune, you really, I think, can hear why it was called Mandoboppin. It definitely has that bebop jazz thread going on through that, but and we are bopping our heads as well.
Yeah, you guys are good. It's like having a live rhythm section.
Speaking of the sound and your engineer friend, I mean, The production on this record sounds so good,
Amazing.
and it's a common thread often with jazz records, and my guess is that it's usually because well, not only are they world class musicians playing wonderful instruments, but that you're playing together in real time. So is that the case in this? You're just sitting in a big room, all kind of playing together in open air, or
Yeah,
did you layer parts?
it's kind of a, in a way, and not meaning to go off on a tangent again, but it's kind of a combination of live recording and studio recording. In that, uh, when we make the basic tracks of these tunes, we do all sit in the studio and we make sure we have sight lines to each other. And then what we do is we play the tunes. I think on Mandoboppin we played them like maybe 5 or 6 times, and the guys would yell at me, what was wrong with the first one? Why do we have to keep playing it?" Well, because what we would do is we take all the takes we have of each tune, and we'd look for the best parts, and we'd edit them together. So a take that you hear on the record, it might have the mandolin solo from take number 1. It might have the mandolin solo from take 50. We just mix all the elements from all the takes
Sure.
into the master take, but it still maintains a live feel because everything was tracked.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's it. It's that open air. Joe actually just chimed in and talked about how it's all microphones, and when you have a little bit of the drums bleeding into the bass microphone, and a little bit of the mandolin bleeding into the guitar microphone, and
Right.
like there's just something that's it's so much more organic sounding, and this record really captures that, and I want to take this opportunity, since we're talking about the production value, to tell everybody how good this sounds on our headphones listening to the uncompressed version of this album, which is available through Bandcamp. Don is got all of his last few records on Bandcamp, where you can get the physical product as well as the digital downloads. And go ahead, Ellen.
Oh, I was just going to say, and today's the perfect day to buy it because the first Friday of every month, Bandcamp waives its fees, so the artists get 100% of the revenue. So this is a great time to buy Don's record right now after the show's over,
Right.
or have a second browser going and buy it while we're chatting, because it's a great, again, the sonics, the audio quality is so great on this record.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, since we can't go to live jazz clubs right now to hear music, I feel like this record is like the next best thing, is to get that feel. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
It sounds
I
fantastic.
have to agree with you on that one. Thank you. I'm going to mention my friend Steve Rashid one more time while we're talking about the engineering, because obviously he's the biggest factor in how the record sounds. Not only because he's a great engineer, but because he and I are close friends going back to college. And the long and the short of that is he knows what I want to sound like. There's no time wasted on discussing, hey, it's a mandolin, Don't you know what a mandolin is? He knows. I don't have to
Yeah.
tell him anything.
That's huge. That's huge to have a partner like that in the recording
Oh,
process.
he's the greatest.
Well, let's we want to get into as many songs as we can today, because I know folks are really digging the music. And the next track we have queued up is Bix and Rio. Is there anything you want to say about this before we dive in to the Rio?
Well, I've got into well, there's the picture of Bix Beiderbecke, who's obviously a jazz musician from the 1920s, and I grew up hearing his music in my father's record collection. My father liked the jazz music, and but it says the tune is Bix and Rio. So why is that? Well, there's a huge culture of mandolin playing in Brazil, and I got turned on to it. It's called choro, Brazilian choro music. Look it up and dig it, and be careful, because you'll probably, like the rest of us, just live there for the rest of your life. But I got into Brazilian music, and sometimes I say that Bix and Rio has kind of a bossa nova feel, and it's representative of a dream of what might have happened if Bix Beiderbecke could have gotten together with Antonio Carlos Jobim, who was some people consider one of the greatest songwriters and the greatest of Brazilian music. And there's Jaco do Mandolin. He was the greatest of the choro composers and players of the mandolin. They call it the bandolin down there.
Well, I know just listening to this track as I was prepping for the lesson, it transported me somewhere else, which is exactly what I needed this week. And for all of you out there, I hope it does the same. This is it's got all the feels for me right now.
And don't anybody go to sleep. Just feel good.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe pour another drink and enjoy a Bix in Rio from Don Stiernberg on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, Alan. This is just what the doctor ordered. That was a nice little trip to the tropics right there with Bix in Rio from Don Stiernberg's 2013 release, Mandoboppin, which we are revisiting today on the back catalog listening party. And as you mentioned, it's kind of a mixture of American jazz and choro music from Brazil. And if folks want to hear more of that kind of music, I just want to do a quick plug for our local community radio station, KFAI. Every Friday, right before back catalog from 2 to 4, there's a show called Corazon Latino, and it plays music from across the Latin diaspora, and it's a bilingual show. So if you don't speak Spanish, you'll be able to follow right along. They do stuff in English and Spanish, and they love choro music. So that's a great way to dive a little deeper if you're interested in that. But man, that was such a perfect
Oh yeah,
virtual trip, since that's the only kind we can take right now.
I know, and yeah, and there, it's instrumental, but it's very lyrical. Like all the players on this record are telling their side of the story, and I was digging that. That sounded fantastic.
Thank you. That's nice to hear all of that. I was going to mention too that the Bix side of things was the chord progression. That tune began with chord progression that for a tune that Bix loved to play, and he recorded near the end of his career. It's called "I'll Be a Friend with Pleasure."
Oh.
So I used that chord progression, and then the melody I made up. But also the melody has some Bix elements in it too, like little theoretical devices that he would use in his playing.
I love that ba da 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 da.
Yeah.
That little section there gets me every time. Is that one of his? I'm not really familiar with his.
Is it maybe the whole tone, like at the
Yes,
end?
that whole
Yeah.
tone. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's a great example. He would have phrases similar to that anyway in some of his solos.
Do they still have a big festival in Iowa for Bix?
Oh, sure.
I know that. Have you ever played that? I'm just curious.
I haven't.
Okay.
I not that one. I've played a lot of that kind of music around Chicago. It's called Dixieland, for better or worse.
Right.
And in Chicago, we get to play a lot of it because at conventions and parties, it's some people say, well, what do you want to have? What kind of music do you want to have for your convention? Well, we want Chicago jazz.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a tourist sort of music. There's it happens a lot, and there's a Dixieland band at Wrigley Field, and so I've been on a bunch of those gigs and really still in love with that music for all these years. I usually play tenor banjo on those gigs, or guitar, and the tenor banjo, of course, to me is just a big round mandolin.
Yeah. Well, it is funny that you mentioned the banjo, because I was thinking that on some of these tunes that like I could hear some of that sort of style of banjo could easily be thrown into this mix. Do you ever play with a banjo player playing this music, playing that style of banjo?
Not, you mean like jazzy things?
Yeah, like New Orleans style banjo.
The tenor style.
Yeah.
No, it's usually me. If there's a banjo there, I guess one or two times there might be another banjo on one of those.
Basically, we just want to know if there's an opening.
Yeah.
Is pretty much why we're asking.
No.
No, just kidding.
And we try to connect the banjo to every episode.
Pretty
here on
much,
Back
yeah.
Catalog
That's what happens when you're both hosted by two banjo players. That's inevitable.
Are you playing on Saturday? I may have something for you.
Okay. We'll be in touch. I do want to get to this. Lori asked, Don, any plans to make an album with the Kettle Brothers?
Oh, it's funny asking about the Kettle Brothers. That's a band that plays that very style of music, traditional jazz. Kettle Brothers are made up of the bass player plays tuba and string bass, and I play either banjo or guitar. And then there's the traditional 3-horn front line, they call it. So reeds, trumpet, cornet, and trombone. And the guys who are in the Kettle Brothers are the best cats in Chicago. I love being the banjo player in those gigs because I get to listen to them play just unbelievable solos. And
Nice.
we're playing Saturday afternoon, making an album. Going back to Lori's question, haven't talked about making a record with the Kettle Brothers, but our leader, Bill Overton, he's the reed player. He records just about every gig, and if you go to his YouTube page, you'll find an awful lot of the stuff that we've done on gigs recorded. That's Bill Overton.
Rachel says, "Wait, Max is in line for that banjo spot."
So
I
we,
feel like
we,
there
we
might
might
be
have to fight for that spot. Yeah. Okay. Well, because we're closing in on not too much time, we want to make sure we at least get a couple more tunes in here from the record. So the next one we have lined up is Donniebrook. Do you want to just dive right in and we can chat about it afterwards?
Sure. Let's do that.
Awesome. I got to tell you, this one has gotten
So excited.
me moving. Yeah, I will just leave it at that. This is Donniebrook from Don Stiernberg on the back catalog listening party.
Yes, that was Don
So long,
Stiernberg.
everybody.
Don Stiernberg from his 2013 release Mandoboppin. That was Donniebrook, and I just want to say, we're obviously only going to be scratching the surface of this record today because there are 12 tracks in total on this record, and each one is as good as the one that we're hearing today. So I just want to put that plug in again. If you want to order this record, today's a great day to do it, because I don't know, I want to keep this summer vibe. And we're having a kind of resurgence of summer here in the Twin Cities, and it sounds like in northern Wisconsin and Chicago as well. And I want to keep this vibe going throughout the winter. So I'm going to stock up on music like this. So
Yeah.
you can keep the back catalog listening party going long after the broadcast.
And as was mentioned earlier, if you go through Bandcamp, where Don has some physical merchandise as well as digital, today only, at least this month, they waive all the fees that they would normally take, their cut. And so Don gets every cent. So now's the perfect time to purchase his whole catalog, and let Don know how much we appreciate his music and how much we look forward to hearing more music in this time when none of us are able to perform.
Yeah, for sure. And Don, is there anything else you want to say about that track?
That was kind of our tribute to gypsy jazz style, meaning the music that came in the wake of the great Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli and their band, the Hot Club of France.
Yeah, you can definitely hear that. And I think that's why we were bopping so much to that. I think that actually this whole episode, Mandoboppin, I think this might, Tony, I don't know. I think this is the episode where we are doing the most bopping out of any, which is a tall order.
I can't help myself, man. My toes are tapping, my fingers are snapping.
It's good for you.
Yeah. No, and again, this week of all weeks this is exactly what the doctor ordered.
We need to dance. We need to enjoy some music, enjoy some drinks, and just let loose a little bit on this Friday afternoon. And
I just want to jump in real quick because Don, I forgot to ask you: are you doing any live streaming stuff right now? Just because I could certainly use a little bit more of this in my life.
I haven't done much as a leader. There's a band that I play with here in town called the Fume Gypsy Jazz Project, and Christy Bennett is the leader and a wonderful singer. And if you go to her website, you'll see a bunch of the streams that we do. We replaced our steady Monday night gig in Chicago with a Monday night stream. So there's a lot of episodes of that up.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, we'll find that link and we'll put it in the notes that we make on Facebook and YouTube.
For sure. And it sounds like Chris is asking about any plans to hit the road after we all get a shot. Last time he saw you was with Tony's band, the High 48s. And I'm guessing it's hard to make plans during this time because it's hard to know if and when things will happen. But are there any plans or dreams in the works?
Well, of course, I look forward to getting back out and playing for sure. I just don't know when it'll be. Another thing that I do besides playing is teaching, and a lot of the summers are taken up teaching at mandolin camps. And I'm really looking forward to getting back in that again, because it gets me around the country a lot and made friends all over the world from that type of thing.
Do you do any online teaching for folks out there who might be interested?
I do. I have some online video courses that are recorded already, and it's a company called soundslice.com. There's a link.
They're
on
very
the site.
cool. Yeah.
And those I made for the people that I don't get to run into in person, at camps and so on. And let's see, what were you asking?
I was just curious about. Yeah, I mean, the
teaching.
style is there's not, there's. I mean, you're the torchbearer. I feel like of this style, and it's. I know there's a lot of people probably watching here that would be interested in that. So that's great. I'm going to post a link to your website on our comments feed, and you can go to Don Stiernberg, and I'm sure you'll have all that information how to connect with your lessons.
Yeah, I see individual lessons on Skype or Zoom or what have you. I've been doing a little more of that here lately, of course. But
Yeah,
For
I hear
sure.
that.
Well, we're going to squeeze in one more tune because we know the folks out there are itching to hear more, and as am I.
Yeah.
I need to get myself bopping again. So the next tune we have queued up is Magnanimous. Anything you want to say about this before we dive in?
sure. This is a song I wrote about friendship. I was actually thinking of very good friends and why are they doing nice things for me? And I looked up in the dictionary that when somebody does something nice for you for no reason at all, really, they're being magnanimous. So that's what this song is about, even though it doesn't have any words.
Well, and that's what we all need more of right now. This is Don Stiernberg, Magnanimous, on the back catalog listening party.
Don Stiernberg with Magnanimous from his 2013 release, Mandoboppin, which we have been enjoying today on Back Catalog Listening Party. Thanks so much, Don, for joining us today. This has been such a treat
Yeah,
to
thanks,
dive
Don.
into this. And
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it a lot.
I feel better.
I feel better too. And it's not just the booze talking, it's the music talking. So, and I want to thank all of you out there for joining us, folks,
Yeah.
really enjoying the music today. And yeah, we went to Paris, Brazil, let's see, Chicago, at Chicago Jazz Club, some Dixieland jazz, some gypsy jazz. So we kind of really traveled the globe a little bit today, which I think feels really good to do. So thank you so much. And we do want to, again, encourage you to fill Don's tip jar, buy his music on Bandcamp, and support him while he can't tour. Normally, he's a pretty busy guy. So, and then also we want to thank all of you for supporting Back Catalog Listening Party and for subscribing to our YouTube channel. We got over that 100 threshold. So
Yeah, I think we can finally change our URL to something that's not just gibberish.
XY35 exclamation point.
Yeah, if you guys liked what you heard in this episode, you could give this, at least this video, a thumbs up. It will help the algorithms, let people know there's really good really
content.
good music.
Yeah. And then also, again, if you haven't already, subscribed to the YouTube channel. And then if you want to find out about what's going on during the week, about our guests, some of those extra tidbits that we don't get to share on the show. Like last week, we shared some extra photos and images. We'll share some links from this week's episode on our Facebook page, so you can like us there as well. Especially want to thank all the Patreon supporters who make this show happen. We are, if you want to give a little every month, and it could be as little as $4 a month, it helps us get on more platforms. And right now we're almost getting done with our website, where we're archiving all this material so people can enjoy it for years to come.
Yes, an oral history of good music.
That's right. Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, and Joe. Thank you so much for coming on board and helping us with this quarantine experiment that apparently we're going to keep going because you guys all like it. So thank you.
I know we thought it might be a few weeks, let's get online and listen to some tunes together, but here we are. And
here we are now with the jazz mandolin master of our generation. So thank you, Don.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's just been a pleasure. And again, folks, today is the day to go grab some of Don's music. You can find that in the comments of this YouTube video. And we're just so grateful for artists like Don. And I really do think music will get us through this. So,
well, thank you both again, Tony and Ellen. Really, I had a ball, I have to say, and also really greatly appreciate your inviting me in.
Awesome.
Well,
all right.
We'll see you all next week for another edition of the Back Catalog Listening Party, 4 p.m. Central on YouTube. Thanks a lot and have a great week, everybody. Hang in there. These times won't last forever.
Nope. Take care.
Cheers.